Are you ready to take a journey back in time and explore one of the bloodiest battles of World War One? That's right guys, in today's video we'll be diving into the Battle of the Somme, one of the most significant and devastating battles of the Great War. Taking place between July the 1st and November the 18th, 1916 in northern France, the Battle of the Somme saw over 1 million casualties on both sides, making it one of the deadliest battles in human history. So buckle up as we explore the events that led up to this epic conflict and the impact that it had on the world. If you have been enjoying the content that we've been putting out over the last few weeks, make sure to subscribe to the channel. The Battle of the Somme was a massive offensive launched by the British and French armies in the summer of 1916. The Somme region of northern France had long been a strategic area, and its importance was only amplified during the First World War. The Allies recognised that breaking through the German lines in this region would not only relieve pressure on the French forces at the nearby Verdun, but also help to end the war by ultimately defeating Germany. The plan for the Somme offensive was for the British and French to launch a joint assault along a 25-mile front, with the British taking the lead in the attack. The Allies had hoped to surprise the Germans and break through their heavily fortified lines, ultimately capturing the strategic towns on the way and threatening the important German supply lines. The planning and preparation for the Battle of the Somme took many months and involved a significant amount of resources and manpower. The Allied forces had constructed an extensive trench system that stretched for miles along the front line, designed to provide protection and cover for the advancing troops. In addition, they had deployed new weapons such as tanks, which were intended to help break through the German lines. However, the Allied forces faced several challenges in preparing for the battle. Resources were limited and many soldiers were inexperienced and poorly trained. The weather was also a significant factor, as heavy rains in the weeks leading up to the battle had turned the battlefield into a quagmire, making it difficult for soldiers and equipment to move. The German defensive strategy was also a significant factor in the planning and preparation for the battle. The Germans had constructed an extensive network of trenches and fortifications with multiple lines of defence designed to repel any Allied advances. They also employed a range of defensive tactics, including barbed wire, machine guns and artillery, which made it difficult for the Allied forces to advance. Despite these challenges, the Allied forces remained committed to the offensive, and on July the 1st, the Allied forces launched their attack. However, the initial advance was met with heavy resistance from the German defenders, who had been preparing for the advance for months. The Allied troops struggled to make progress against the German defences, and they suffered heavy losses from the artillery and machine gun fire. One of the turning points of the battle came on July the 14th, when the British deployed their first new weapon, the tank, for the first time in combat. The tanks were intended to break through the German lines and provide cover for the advancing infantry. However, the tanks were plagued by mechanical problems and were unable to make significant progress. Throughout the battle, both sides suffered heavy casualties from artillery and machine gun fire. The use of gas attacks also had a devastating impact on both sides, causing widespread casualties and panic among the troops. The Canadian forces played a significant role in the battle, with their attack on September the 15th resulting in the capture of a key town. Despite some initial gains by the Allied forces, they were ultimately unable to break through the German lines and achieve their objectives. The battle officially ended on November the 18th, with both sides suffering immense casualties. The Allies had suffered over 600,000 casualties, while the Germans had suffered over 500,000. The Battle of the Somme had a significant impact on both sides. For the Allies, the battle was a painful lesson in the realities of modern warfare, with the use of new weapons such as tanks and gas attacks causing widespread devastation. The battle also highlighted the need for better coordination and communication between the different Allied forces. For the Germans, the battle was a very costly victory, with the immense casualties suffered by both sides highlighting the futility of continued warfare. The German defensive strategy and tactics employed during the battle also influenced the future defensive strategies, with the emphasis on strong, fortified positions and the use of machine guns. The aftermath of the battle saw the Allied forces gain some ground, but ultimately failed to achieve their objective of breaking through the German lines. The battle resulted in an estimated 1.3 million casualties, with over 300,000 of those being British and French. German losses were also significant, with estimates ranging from 200 to 500,000 casualties. The battle had a profound impact on military tactics and strategies employed in subsequent battles in World War I and beyond. The Allies learned important lessons about the effectiveness of artillery and machine guns, and the need for improved communication between infantry and artillery units. The Germans, for their part, saw the importance of creating flexible defences that could be quickly reinforced as needed. The impact of the battle on society and culture was also just as significant. The war had taken a heavy toll on soldiers and civilians alike, but the devastating losses suffered during the Battle of the Somme only deepened the sense of trauma and loss. The experience of the battle was reflected in the art, literature, and music of the time. The Battle of the Somme also had significant political consequences. The failure of the offensive contributed to the resignation of British Secretary of State for War, Lord Kitchener, and the subsequent appointment of David Lloyd George as Prime Minister. It also contributed to the growing anti-war sentiment in many countries and the rise of pacifist movements in the years following the war. The battle also had a lasting impact on the communities affected by it. In the years after the war, memorials and monuments were erected in many towns and cities to honour the fallen. These memorials serve as a reminder of the human cost of war and the need to strive for peace and understanding. One of the immediate consequences of the battle was its impact on the war effort. Although the Allied forces did not achieve their objective of breaking through the German lines, the battle did succeed in relieving the pressure on the French forces at Verdun. The battle also marked a major turning point in the use of military tactics and technology, as the devastating impact of artillery and machine gun fire highlighted the need for new strategic weapons. The Battle of the Somme had a lasting impact on the military tactics and strategies employed in the subsequent battles. Lessons learned from the battle led to the development of new weapons, such as tanks, and the adoption of new strategies for attacking heavily fortified positions. The use of creeping barrages, in which artillery fire was directed in advance of advancing infantry, became a key tactic in subsequent battles. The battle also had a profound impact on society and culture, both during the war and in the years that followed. The scale of the casualties and trauma suffered by the soldiers and civilians alike contributed to a sense of disillusionment with the war and its objectives. The lasting impact of the battle can be seen in the music, art and literature of the time, with many writers and artists grappling with the themes of loss, trauma and the futility of war. The Battle of the Somme continues to be studied and analysed by military historians and scholars, both for its immediate impact on the war effort and for its broader significance in the context of military history. The battle is often cited as an example of the high cost of attacking heavily fortified positions and the need for new tactics and technology in modern warfare. The battle also serves as a powerful reminder of the human toll of war and the importance of remembering the sacrifices made by those who served. In terms of commemoration, the Battle of the Somme is remembered in a number of ways. The Somme battlefield has been preserved as a memorial to those who fought and died there. The annual commemoration of the battle served as its reminder of its ongoing significance. In conclusion, the Battle of the Somme was a significant event in the history of World War I and military history more broadly. Its impact on the war effort, military tactics and wider society can still be felt today, and the battle continues to be studied and commemorated as a reminder of the sacrifices made by those who served.